Good evening and welcome. This is my last live that I'm recording in 2022. I have a feeling when I said I was going live tonight, I might have said 2023, so I'm jumping ahead of myself. I will be back here live next year. I'd love to know what your tips, your thoughts are about what you'd like me to talk about in 2023. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, do drop a note to say the sort of things you'd like to see more of or any topics you'd like me to cover. So I think I've done about 40 lives this year. Of course, there are weeks when I miss them and I'm on holiday. And as we're leading up to Christmas and the end of the year, this is my last live. I thought this was a good opportunity with party season in full swing and with Christmas coming. And with more people who are socialising more than ever this year, making up for lost time, I thought this was a good time to just revisit what we can do to try and stay not just healthy, but not to lose sight of those healthy habits that we've implemented and worked so hard to achieve this year, previous years. Because sometimes you know, when we get to this time of year and there's lots going on, we're busy and, you know, there's too many indulgences around us. It's very easy to think it's all a lost cause and to lose sight of those habits. And I just want to show you things that you can do so that it doesn't all become a bit of a lost cause. And why should it? I mean, from this point onwards, we're talking 2-3 weeks at most. So I've got 8 things, tips, if you like. I've clustered these into 8, as always, in no particular order. So the first one I've got here, and I talked about this last week, is to remember to stay hydrated. Don't lose sight of the fact that just because it's cold, we need to be well hydrated. It doesn't have to be cold drinks. You can have hot water with lemon, or just plain hot water. Some of my clients like plain hot water. Could be herbal teas, it could be fruit teas, it could be the barley coffee. The things that aren't so much of a stimulant, like tea, normal teas and coffees, they're a stimulant. They're also slightly diuretic as well. So stay well hydrated, aiming typically for 2 litres a day. Depending on your size, you might need slightly more if you're very active. But my post last week was all about water and the importance of hydration. Another reason for that is not just because hydration is so important, but also because sometimes we mistake the thirst signal for hunger. And if we're not used to drinking a lot, we might think we're hungry when actually it's thirsty. So first and foremost, do think about having a little drink of water before reaching for food, just to be sure it is indeed it might just be water that you need. The second thing is to avoid arriving at a drinks party hungry. You know what it's like when you go to those parties. Maybe on the side there's a table with canapes and peanuts and crisps, or indeed if you're at a posher party where people are walking around with trays of canapes, and it's too easy just to really dig into those, particularly if you're drinking alcohol, starts to make you feel hungrier, and the temptation is to eat more of those types of things. So don't arrive at a drinks party, that's different to a dinner party, at a drinks party hungry. Make sure you have something to eat that's going to just take the edge off hunger. By all means, it's okay to have some of these things. I'm going to talk about that next. But, you know, the alcohol is going to make you want to eat more food, but you want to have something with protein in. I would choose something like a very small protein shake, a protein smoothie, maybe a couple of oat cakes with some nut butter or peanut butter, because that's going to provide nice protein and some fats in there as well. And that will just take the edge off hunger. So we'll get you started at that drinks party. Don't arrive hungry, you're just going to dive into all the food. Which brings me to my next point, which is be very, very careful at drinks parties when they start going around, because typically most of the food that comes around are pastries, sausage rolls, little mini quiches. You often get little vol-au-vents. Sometimes you get little mini burger type things. There's a lot of pastry. There's a lot of white refined flour. It's just pure sugar. And that sugar is just going to be converted in all likelihood to fat around the body, more likely to result in weight gain, really unbalances your blood sugar. So wherever possible, try and choose the canapes that are protein rich. So anything on a cocktail stick that's like cheese, maybe prawns, maybe little cocktail sausages. They're going to be better for you than all the pastry. Just watch that white refined pastry. You know, you're going to be better off also having a handful of ideally unsalted nuts, although it can be harder to come by at a drinks party. Now, when it gets to Christmas Day itself, and on any other day as well, do try and make sure that you start your day with a very sustaining breakfast. I know Christmas Day you might be having a glass of champagne or Bucks Fizz to start the day, but you do want to make sure that when you're having breakfast you don't skip breakfast, and you make sure it's a sustaining breakfast. Again, what I mean by that is you're going to have good protein content. It could be eggs, it could be smoked salmon, could be bacon, could be some cheese, it could be full fat Greek yogurt to go with other things as well. So you want to be avoiding toast and marmalade, for example, or a bowl of cereal with some skimmed milk that isn't providing, again, the substance with the protein that keeps you sustained, keeps you fuller for longer, and will stop you reaching very quickly for snacks. Because if you're anything like our household, you know, the snacks come out early on Christmas Day. Of course we indulge, but you can tuck into those when really if you'd had that breakfast you wouldn't be tucking in quite so much. Now, my fourth point is when we think about Christmas dinner parties, any dinner parties in fact, I want you to think and to remember protein, vegetables, carbs in that order. Fats will fit into this really along the way, but think protein, think vegetables, and then think carbs. So making sure, have you got plenty of protein on your plate? Meat, fish, pulses, eggs, a little bit of cheese, could be tofu, the lentils, the chickpeas. You want to make sure you've got those on your plate. And then you want to make sure you've got plenty of vegetables, mostly the non-starchy, the non-root ones. You don't want too many parsnips really. And finally, you need to then think about having a little bit of carbs, carbs being your sweet potatoes, your rice, your pasta, go steady on the breads, that sort of thing. Again, you know, the pastries, if it's salmon en croûte, you know, something in pastry, be a little bit careful of that. You want to do it in that order because it's the starchy carbs that are going to be more likely leading to the weight gain, and not to do with any fats that might be in any of the foods that you're having. So think protein, think vegetables, and finally think about the starchy carbs on your plate. Now, it is possible to still be practicing mindful eating even on Christmas Day or when you're at a dinner party. You know, mindful eating is all about pausing before tucking in, trying to eat a little bit slower, trying not to overload your plate with too much food, trying to chew your food sufficiently without gulping it down and without eating it too quickly. Of course, if you eat your food quickly, you're more likely to get digestive consequences. And when you are eating a really big, like Christmas meal, it's even more important to take your time so that you've got time to digest it, really help your body do the job it's trying to do. And that pausing, that sight and smell of food, and the chewing action all have really, really important roles in the body being able to recognize that food is coming or food is there and you're eating more food, to be trying to tell it to provide the digestive secretions needed to break down that meal. So give it all the support that you possibly can. The other thing is, if you eat quickly, your body doesn't have a chance to recognize when it's full. So we tend to overindulge, and then we really feel like that really awful bloated feeling. So just try, slow it down, take your time. It's a time for chatting, which is great because that should help to stop us gulping and eating too quickly. So really enjoy and savor that meal, taste all those flavors, just slow everything down a little bit. With the alcohol in any situation, it's so important to try and intersperse an alcoholic drink with hydrating fluids like water, because that's going to stop the overindulgence, stop too much of the sugars, because alcohol's really, really high in sugars, and it's the sugars that are going to more likely lead to weight gain. And obviously enough said about the impact of having too much alcohol in the body. So just try and remember, goes back to the first point about keeping up your hydration levels. So just intersperse your drinks, your alcoholic drinks, as much as you can. And my final point is, if you are suffering the morning after, having had a little bit too much alcohol the day before, start your day again on a really sustaining breakfast. A bowl of porridge with nuts and seeds, 1 to 2 dessert spoons of nuts and seeds. I prefer the milled ones because part of the digestion is sort of already done for you when they're ground down. And that provides a lovely sustaining breakfast and is really going to help to balance your blood sugar, but you've got to add the nuts and seeds to it. Or, you know, a cooked breakfast, or maybe eggs, a couple of eggs on a slice of toast is going to go a long way to really try and rebalance your blood sugar levels, because part of the reason why we feel so awful the next day is our blood sugar levels tend to be knocked out and they're really all over the place and swing high to low. The temptation is just to dive into starchy carbs because your blood sugar levels are low, but you need to balance it with some good protein. You know, a couple of poached eggs would be fabulous. Again, you could have some bacon, but I like a bowl of porridge, but I do add plenty of milled linseeds or other nuts to the top of my breakfast, because that really helps to stabilize your blood sugar. So hopefully that's given you plenty of tips to help see you through the next 3 weeks right through to the new year. And I just want to mention, if you watch this live or in the next couple of weeks, or certainly before this program, I am doing an online kickstart program on the 9th of January 2023. It's a 7-day program to really kickstart healthy habits in 2023. I do not believe in New Year's resolutions. They do not work. They're very negative. I want to help you sustain and start the new year with really good intentions. I'm going to provide you with recipes. I'm going to give you daily lives to really help you start the new year from the 9th of January. Let's get that first week out of the way. Get rid of the food that's in the house. So starting on the 9th of January, you'll have recipes in advance once you've signed up for my program. Daily lives, lots of inspiration, lots of advice to help you set realistic, sustainable, healthy habits, and to get you started, this real kickstart at the beginning of 2023 to get you on the right setting for the year ahead. So look out for the program. It's going live in the next week or so, probably before Christmas. Definitely be lots of information about that between Christmas and New Year. It's just £10 to sign up for my program. You won't regret it, because it's really going to enable you, for me to do the work for you, really, to stop you thinking for yourself what you should be doing. And it really is not about dieting, and definitely not about New Year's resolutions. So look out for my program, and I'd really like to see you there on the 9th of January for 7 days. Have a lovely, lovely week. Have a fabulous Christmas and New Year. This is a time to really rest, sort of withdraw into yourself. You might or might not have family around you, but you know, this is a time to have time to yourself, to pause, reflect, and you know, just to have time to yourself as much as you can, just to resettle, regroup, and then you can start New Year with some really, really good intentions. And this is all about your time. It's not just about kids and it's not just about family, but it is your time. So make sure you do have time for yourself. And I wish you all the very best, and looking forward to really healthy, good, wonderful 2023. I'm sure it's going to be. Bye.